podcast where no subject is too taboo to discuss. Now, please welcome your hosts, Andy Barker and Lou Del Pree. Well, look at that. It's another Friday evening, which means it's another episode of Nothing's Off the Table. We took the week off last week, because if we didn't, I would have been in a whole heck of a lot of trouble.
That's right. It was your anniversary, wasn't it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, it was.
Happy belated anniversary.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, if you look up in the upper right-hand corner, you will see not a video, but we have a picture of our guest this evening because we were having some technical difficulties, and I'll just blame it on myself, and we'll go from there. But anyway, let me introduce, and I am really going to screw up your last name, but Jessica. I'll stay with Jessica.
That's accurate. Yeah.
I am not feeling that brave tonight. But you know what? Kazaniwskyj?
Hey, you nailed it.
Hey!
Look at you.
How about that?
When I looked at your last name, Jessica, I hearkened back to those poor bastards at Ellis Island. Jones, next. Smith.
Isn't that the truth?
Right. Well, Jessica, welcome to the show. I'm excited to have you on because in just a second I'm going to let you introduce yourself and tell the audience what you do. But after you go through that, I'll tell you exactly why I'm excited for having you on the show.
Well, I'm excited to be here. Thank you guys so much for having me.
Absolutely.
Sorry, very gracious of you for taking responsibility. But it's my maiden name is Cravens, and my husband always jokes it's the Cravens curse with technology with me. So I appreciate you taking the hit. But I'm a holistic empowerment life coach, and I specialize in people who have overcome childhood trauma, as I have. I help them find the patterns and the behaviors that they need to change in their relationships, primarily, because we repeat those patterns over and over again from what we saw in our childhood, and especially if you had a narcissistic parent. I endured a whole lot of trauma, which is one of the reasons that I do this now for a living. I'm self-healed. I don't really trust therapists, which we can get into. I'm sure you'll ask me those questions or we can talk about it. So I believe in more of the taking action, taking responsibility. Even if you did come from that kind of environment, you're the one who has to fix things. So that's how I got here. And I'll go way more into my life story as we talk, but I just wanted to give a brief overview to everybody. So thank you so much for having me here.
Of course. The reason why I'm excited is because I'm actually, at my advanced age, shut up, Lou, decided to go back to school, and that's what I'm doing. I'm getting my human services degree, and with emphasis life coaching and counseling. So
awesome. That's incredible. Really, that is. It's a great industry to be in, and especially if you have the capacity to handle other people's wounds. It's rewarding to you to do so. It really is.
I've done something similar for several years, and I finally decided that, let me just make it legit. But you're right, carrying the grief and the burden of carrying others' burdens isn't easy. It's very taxing.
That's a very good word. Yes, it is very taxing, especially when people aren't sure why they're doing things, and you have to kind of drop the bomb. I'm very good at in life. You're like, hey, do you see a pattern? Because I see a pattern kind of person. That's just how I am with that. Which isn't, I'm not everybody's cup of tea for that reason, but I'm a very much a no bullshit kind of person. And
virgin ears.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of
right.
Oh yeah. Well, it's too late now, isn't it?
Oh,
I'm just kidding. It's perfectly fine.
Okay.
Yeah, the FCC is not even aware we exist.
I swear like a sailor, and I haven't been told not to yet. So I was like, oh God.
No, you're good. No.
Okay.
No, you're fine.
We're both retired military, so I'll pay you $10 if you can offend us.
Oh, awesome.
Sailors too.
Challenge accepted.
Oh, it's going to be a long night, sister. But anyway.
Yeah.
I'm the worst sailor ever, though. I've never been to sea. Well, no, that's not true. I was sent to sea as a punishment. I forgot about that. But anyway.
So I am very curious about the holistic title. Can you expound on that a little bit, please?
Oh, sure. It's your whole body. Like we regardless if you think it's woo or not, it is 100% not. Issues in your tissues. You hold trauma in your body, and it has to be a whole person process. It can't just be the brain. Even though, I'm going to go off on a tangent here. Even though people who have endured trauma have actually different sized brains than people who have not. Their amygdala is a different size. Their hippocampus is a different size. Your response of cortisol is different than everybody else when they get stressed. Like you pump out more than the average person because you've been exposed to years and years of stress. You have to do you have to do somatic therapy. You have to release the pressure and the tension in your body as well. You also have to feel safe in your body. So that's where like the holistic comes into play. I'm not, like saying like, vitamin D cures you or anything like that. It's more along the lines of, it's not just your brain, but you have to like actually learn what it's like to feel safe in your body, because so many people don't, which is why people self-sabotage, which I also hate that statement. It's not self-sabotage. Your brain's protecting yourself, but we all like to say self-sabotage because, you keep screwing things up over and over again. But yeah, so that's where the holistic comes into play.
Well, it's kind of like your it's preservation is what it is.
100%.
The brain can't relate to external things going on. All it knows is what the signals it's being fed.
Right. You're 100% correct. And if your body senses fear and senses danger, then that's what it's going to react with. It doesn't matter if you tell it not to. You have to actually and that's why I'm a big fan of the cognitive therapy. You have to almost numbify your body into doing these repetitive actions where it used to feel unsafe to where it feels safe. You have to train your body to feel unsafe and be okay with it, essentially.
Yeah, and that's not an easy task.
No. Oh, no. I tell people all the time, I'm like, if you think this is a 6 month, you're going to be all better, then move on to someone else, because I'm not going to lie to you. Healing is a lifelong journey, if you ask me.
Sure.
I've been healing for 25 plus years, and I'm still not healed.
Yeah. I say that a lot. I'm sorry, Lou, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was bringing up, you mentioned cognitive, are you talking cognitive restructuring like Albert Ellis, irrational belief there, IRBT?
Yes,
the irrational
where
belief,
the exposure therapy, where you just keep doing it again and again and again until it feels normal.
That and the event itself doesn't really matter. How we interpret the event is what counts. He talked a lot about
100%.
Just because I love somebody doesn't mean they have to love me back. So if somebody does, if I express the emotions towards somebody and they're not reciprocated, well, is that what I did it for?
Right.
Sounds like a Lifetime movie network show.
It does, but it's very important.
No, I agree with you.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's like giving. If you give, to receive, then are you doing it for the right reasons? If you forgive, to get absolution or back or some sort of resolution to the situation, are you doing it for the right reasons? Same concept. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So are you licensed to conduct therapy sessions? Because I know there's some of the fields there are areas that you can be licensed to counsel.
I have a degree in psychology, although I am not a licensed therapist, because I have had an adverse situation with licensed therapists.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't trust them. Not saying that they're all bad, not at all. It's just my own personal, and I don't want to be a hypocrite. And I also don't want to sit there and talk about our feelings, if that makes sense. Like I want the forward motion, which I feel is more of coaching than therapy. Yeah.
I'm a huge proponent and believer in peer-to-peer counseling.
Oh yeah.
I actually made my first therapist cry, so I got that going for me. But
Oh.
I agree with you. I don't feel connection with well, I'll just break down the walls since I'm not talking in riddles and whatnot. I retired from the military. I do have PTSD, and I am going through therapy. And the first therapist I had was a very young lady, fresh out of school, and I felt absolutely zero connection. And instead of listening to me tell her that, she kept wanting to push forward. So she had to learn a tough lesson that day. But needless to say, I have a new therapist, and she's wonderful.
Well, first of all, let me just say I am so sorry that you are enduring that, and so many of our military men have. And I'm incredibly grateful for your service, and also the fact that we are finally recognizing the whole PTSD with military, and that it's real.
100%.
And that is like one of my avenues with the whole the complex PTSD is like, we have accepted it with military. You know what I mean? And how can you sit there and say, when you're exposed to, like, I was physically abused, when you're physically abused every day of your life, how can you say that that's not going to cause PTSD? You know what I mean? Like that.
Right.
So I am a huge proponent of PTSD awareness, because it is. And there was I can't remember the doctor's name, but he doesn't like calling it a disorder, because he wants to start calling it something else. It started with an I. Gosh, I will. I was just watching him on PBS actually. And,
I can't think of it, but I've seen it. I know what you're talking about.
Okay, good. Yeah, it's only been recently, but because he said it's not a disorder. It's
right.
something that it's the way your brain is now wired, and you can change it. But yeah, it's not. He said disorder makes it sound like it's just so dire,
Right. I bring it up a lot when we talk to people on the show here, and it's not because of a woe is me, but it's exactly what you said. It's an awareness. And I have found that the more I talk about it, I don't use it as a crutch. I'm not looking for pity, but the more I talk about it, the easier it gets day to day.
Absolutely.
So.
Absolutely.
And that's why I bring it up. Other people, they may just say, hey, you just want you to just calm down with that shit a little bit. You know what I mean? I hope there's another FCC fine. Never mind.
I'm actually watching my mouth for you guys, so there you go.
But Jessica, I will say though, I do like your approach, and I do want to point out you have an excellent point about these licensed clinical workers or even psychologists. The psychologist is trained to treat problems, with drugs. It's just what he's trained to do. Not that he's in the pharmacy's pocket. It's his training. You come to see him. Okay, these drugs do this. These drugs do that. We'll figure out what you need. You go to see the psychologist. He's trained to talk it through, figure out where the error is, and try to work around the error. And you're going to end up talking it through, and then he's going to maybe refer you to the psychiatrist for more drugs. But when you get to these peer to peer, and you start having these counseling sessions peer to peer, I really think there's a lot more to it, and I really think there's a lot more to coaching. If you could talk to us a little bit about coaching and sort of the role that plays, and how you came about, how you got into it.
Okay. All right. Well, let me first start by saying that I do agree with what you're saying. The coaching, I once heard somebody say that, I can't remember who, but therapy is about the past and coaching is about the future. Therapy is about unpacking the past and everything. Like we know what we've been through, all of us. I mean, you guys know what you've been through and everything else. We don't need to focus on that. We need to focus on how we're going to change those patterns and those behaviors and move forward, because otherwise you're just going to keep perpetuating the past over and over again. How did I get into it? I guess, do you want to hear all about my childhood getting up to here, or are we not?
Well, only if you're comfortable. If you're not,
whatever you think is appropriate to give us the picture.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, then here we go. My mother was in her late teens when she got pregnant with me, and my parents got married, because that's what you did at the time. As I was born in '80, so you get a girl in trouble, you get married, kind of thing. So they got married. They had no business being together. it was a tumultuous relationship from the start, fighting all the time. I mean, vicious fighting, like WWE fighting. It was horrible. My father is an alcoholic. My mother is a narcissist. The best thing they ever did was get divorced. However, that's when things got even worse because my mother would blame me, not for the divorce so much, but for looking like my father and acting like my father. Like, I guess I slept like him and, walked like him and stuff like that. And that was, of course, my fault. Even though genetically I had nothing to say about it. But, so I was hit. I was emotionally abused. I was spiritually abused. I mean, my mother broke my nose one time. She burned me. She cut me. It was everything you can imagine was done. I was back and forth between their homes and my grandparents, and I would just kind of bounce around. When I couldn't take her anymore, I would move to, his house for a little bit and then move back and, move with my grandparents for a little bit and then move back. One time, finally, I was 15 years old and I moved in with my dad, and he was, the reason they got divorced, sorry, let me rewind a little bit, is he got a woman pregnant, who's now my stepmother, and they had my sister from that. So he's married to this woman, and they have my little sister, and I'm living with them. And I guess my stepmother had an idea of how long I was supposed to be there, and I outstayed my welcome. So she convinced my father, who had, good insurance and everything, that, she needs some time in a facility, which she was just trying to get rid of me. First, she tried to get me to go back to my mother's, and when I wasn't biting, then it was, okay, we're going to do this. So she convinced him, and one night we got in the car, and he said, we're going to go for a ride, like I was a dog going to the vet. And we pulled up to this hospital, and I immediately sensed something was off. And we walked in there, and he said, we're just going to talk. And the doctor admitted me, and I was admitted to an institution. And I don't know if you know anything about the mental health institutions, but you have to administer certain tests upon being put in there. Like, are you bipolar, schizophrenic,
Right.
Neurological tests, all that. I passed with flying colors, but my father had top of the line insurance, so they were finding reasons to keep me in there. So
Jessica, I'm sorry to interrupt, but how old were you again at this point?
15.
Okay.
Yeah. So they hand you a packet basically saying, if you feel you've been put in here under false, reasons, whatever. So I called the Illinois Department of Mental Health Advocacy, and together this lady, who I never got her name, but she was my little angel at the time, got me out because they couldn't provide proof of why I was in there. So upon my release, I was in there for 7 days. I was hiding pills under my tongue because they were trying to dope me up so that I would stop calling, and working with this lady to get me out. Upon my release, my best friend found an article in Rolling Stones about emancipating, which I guess is a common thing in LA and New York for child labor laws, like working on the movie sets and stuff. Minors will get emancipated from their parents. So she goes, you have to try this. And I said, okay, who's going to do this for me? And she's like, no, you got to try. So I started calling the state's attorney. I went through the yellow pages. I just aged myself going, through all of the lawyers and trying to find someone who would take my case. And finally, this one lady said, you're either the world's greatest liar or, I have to take your case. So I met with her downtown, and I was the first minor on the books in Illinois to divorce my parents. So 16, I have custody of myself. I have to show this paper to landlords because no one's going to rent to a 16-year-old. I have to show this paper, for the Pell Grant because,
right. People don't think of that.
Stuff.
Yep.
No, all this stuff. So I was like literally carrying it around like like back in the day.
Like a visa?
Like you were saying Ellis Isle. Yeah, like here's my papers, I swear. But I'm out on my own. I have an apartment with my twin bed, a black and white TV, used pots and pans, a thrift store couch, but I was free. And that's when I started realized, I mean, I knew that obviously the way I was raised was wrong, but that's when I started my healing journey. Unfortunately, before that, I met my first husband, and he was my mother and my father wrapped up into one. And of course, I fell for it hook, line, and sinker. And we got married, and we were together for 18 years. And we weren't intimate the last 10 years of our marriage, which a lot of people are always like, and I'm like, why would I lie about that? Who would lie about that?
Bragging rights.
I mean? Like, who would lie about that? So when we finally split, our marriage had been over for years. And now I'm currently married to the love of my life, who pushed me into doing what I need to be doing, which was the coaching. I was in corporate, in the service industry for years, but I had my degree, but I got my degree at 20.
Jessica,
So
you know how I
yeah.
challenged you to be able to offend us?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it goes both ways or not, but the only thing I thought of when you said he pushed me, I was thinking into the wall, the door. I'm sorry, it was horrible. So
No,
bad.
no. That's my current husband, and he's amazing. He really is. He's the polar opposite, thank God, of my ex. But he's like, this is every opportunity I had to help someone, I was doing it, that had struggled like I had. And he's like, this is what you wanted to do. This is what you went to school for. I got trauma informed, and I took the leap. And that was about a year and a half ago. So yeah.
What do you think
Good
about
for you.
trauma informed care?
I'm sorry.
What do you think about trauma informed care? So just give you a little bit of a people who listen, the person who listens to the show. I almost said people. Anyway, no, I'm just kidding. But I did work in corrections for a while, and trauma informed care has hit us hard there. And I was just wondering, what do you think about it? I had a first impression, and it changed over time. But I'm just curious what you think of trauma informed.
Well, I think it's necessary for people who haven't dealt with it. I mean, there are people out there, although I don't think there's a large number. I think a lot of people have dealt with trauma on a personal basis, whether they realize it or not. But I think it's necessary to learn how to talk to individuals who are easily triggered. You know what I mean? They don't react and respond the same way that everybody else does. So I do think it's a necessary. Is it perfect? No, but few things are when they first start out. And trauma informed is fairly new. You know what I mean? Like it's
Sure.
I would say it's within the last 5 to 10 years tops, even if that. So yeah, I think it's necessary. I mean, people need to learn how to. That's also something I do is within the corporate sect. I teach leaders how to talk to people who have had trauma, because you're going to have employees that have it, and they don't respond the same way, and you have to learn how to deal with it. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to effectively lead these people. So, what is your take on it?
Lou, can you please explain me why that term is so familiar to me?
Oh yeah, I could. I could. So Jessica, to Andy's I was gonna write a book on trauma informed care and not trauma informed care, but trauma informed leadership.
Wow.
taking the principles of trauma informed care and applying them to leadership, because there are very, very many damaged souls who worked for terrible managers. So anyway,
Yes.
I was supposed to do that, and I didn't do a thing. Except copyright the title.
I'm I'm not busting your balls. Well, yeah, I am. But I was writing a paper for my class, and I came across a couple pretty good articles that would fit right into his arena. So I sent them to him, and I don't know what he did with them.
Filed them under shit to do later.
I figured.
Sorry.
Oh, you have one of those piles too? I got a pile like that.
But I'll tell you. So I'll just be real quick and tell you. So my first impression, right? When it first sort of started hitting the market, if you will, the Pittsburgh market, right? People started using the terminology and saying all these things. I thought, okay, here we go again, right? You're pushing it too hard for it to be good. This has to be like some type of nepotism or money grab. But then over time, as it started to adapt and people started to understand, and it started to get explained better, and the sort of, I want to say, the foot came off the gas pedal, and people let us, experiment with it and apply it where we want. Um, and as more literature started to come out, I sort of came around to it more, and now I'm a fan.
Mm-hmm. It's because it's necessary. It is. I mean, you can't have, especially like if you look at like police officers and firefighters and first responders in general, nurses. I mean, they all should be taking, because you're dealing with you don't know why people are coming in. You don't know why you're being called. I mean, it's and then you said the leadership. There are terrible managers, and it's because first of all, half of them are need the trauma informed for themselves. Let's be honest, because half of their responses are trauma induced, and how they're being triggered by their employees. So no, you're 1,000% correct.
Well, I guess there's a first time for everything.
Should have wrote the book.
Right? You should. Well, you still can, man.
You still can, yeah.
I'm publicly shaming you on purpose, to kind of motivate you to get back to what you wanted to do.
Somebody called me the other day, asked what I was up to. He said, no book. You were talking about the book a while ago. I was like, yeah, I know.
Jessica, I know you can't see, but there is a question in the room. And it says, if you have one summary statement for your successful recovery from your trauma, what would it be? And that's from Kimberly Bianchini.
Oh, that's a good question. Summary statement. It would be to continue to be persistent in your healing journey, to know that it's gonna take some time, and that you're still, I could tell you a story. I was just triggered a couple weeks ago by my family again. But it didn't derail me for, months like it would have before. And to be open to knowing your worth and loving yourself. And that's the successful recovery. You gotta learn to love yourself, because you're when you grow up in that kind of home, there's no way you do. I mean, everything how could you? You know what I mean? You're abused and you're treated poorly, and then it's only natural for you to go, well, I'm obviously a piece of garbage. You know what I mean? Otherwise, why would I be in that situation? So persistence and being open to loving yourself, because that's, unless you do, it's game over. Like nothing else is going to work.
Fantastic. Solid advice. We'll put up the QR code here in a little bit for you to pay Jessica for that therapy session there. And of course, we'll get a little bit of kickback, if you know what I'm saying.
Absolutely.
So what would you describe your client base then? How would you describe your client base?
People who are just tired of it. Like, if I were to describe, my perfect client, the bulk of people who come to me, it would be those who are tired. Again, most of the trigger that tips the scale, I guess, for people would be like, they're successful in their career. They might be married, or married and divorced, and married and divorced. And, God knows how many other strings of relationships, but that's usually the tipping point is, I'm tired of attracting the same person to myself over and over again. And when I sit there and I tell them, listen, I know this, you don't want to hear this unpopular opinion here, but you're the reason you keep pulling in this person. That's not to absolve, an a-hole for being an a-hole, or, a narcissist for being a narcissist. You're pulling that in because that's what you think you deserve. And until you stop that, they're going to keep, a narcissist, I don't know if either one of you, are well versed in it, but they smell weakness in the sense of the people pleaser, the person that's going to pander to them. They can smell it across the room. So if that's what you're giving off, that I need to basically beg for love, they're going to seek you out over and over and over again. They're going to look different every time, but it's going to be the same person. So you need to fix you. And a lot of people don't want to hear that. A lot of people will walk away from me. And I'm like, that's fine. That's cool. I'll be here when you are ready to accept that. but it's you have to change you.
Two thoughts on that. First, I agree. And narcissists, they're predators by nature. So it's no surprise there. But secondly, I blame society for these feelings of these folks not wanting to hear, hey, this is your fault. But it could be corrected. As soon as you point blame, our society nowadays feels that there's no reason in the world why I should accept responsibility for my own actions.
Oh, yeah. I mean, do we have a time limit on this show? Because I 100%, nobody wants to take responsibility. And here's the thing. Here, you are 1,000% not at fault for what happened to you. I mean, you're not.
Right.
You're not. You were a kid. No one's saying that. But now you're an adult. And if you want to continue to replay the patterns and continue the behaviors that you learned, no matter how poor they were, you're to blame. Like and how about, and again, maybe it's just because I have a fighting nature about me, but talk about letting them win. Like if you keep, screwing up your life over and over and over again and keep having the miserable relationships and keep perpetuating the whole, obviously I'm a piece of garbage thought process, who's winning? They are. The person who put you in this position to begin with, your parent. So the whole personal responsibility thing. I mean, seriously, I could talk about that for probably an hour easily. It's because it's so grating on the nerves. Like you have to. People don't want to. I've had a client before who's been cheated on multiple times, and I'm like, you didn't see the signs. Of course you saw that. They'll start telling me about the beginning of the relationship, and I'm sitting there staring at them like, with my head tilted, going, do you not see what I see? But it's the personal responsibility. They don't want to take responsibility for the fact that they're pulling in a cheater over and over and over again. I mean, like I can say a lot about relationships. I've never been cheated on. Why? Because I can see the behavior off the bat and I give off the fact of she's not going to put up with that. So don't even try. You know what I mean? Kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So that's where the personal responsibility comes in. And people hear that and they go, oh, you're giving a free pass to, this person to be this way. No, not at all. And like I said, an a-hole is an a-hole. That's over here on the side. You have to take responsibility for you.
Right.
And so many people don't want to. No, I mean, about so many areas of life, not just relationships.
It's so frustrating. I'm struggling with that right now with my kids. It's, oh my gosh.
You said you have a 10-year-old, and how old's the other one?
No, Lou's got the 10-year-old. Mine, I've got a 13 and a 12-year-old.
Oh, God bless you.
Boy and a girl. Yeah.
I am sorry. I don't have children for that reason. Because it's a hard job.
6 months ago, I had a full head of hair.
I believe you.
Now it just migrated to my back. Well, wait a minute. Hi, Christine. Christine joined us in the room. This is fascinating to me. Of course, I already told you that I'm going to school for it, but I have the feeling we would probably run our practice pretty close to the same ways. A lot of tough love.
You have to, because and I don't mean to sound grim here, but you're not getting any younger. Like a lot of people come to me when they're in their 30s and their 40s, and they're like, my relationships, my thought patterns I keep self-sabotaging this, that, and the other. Okay, well, we can talk about it for the next 10 years if you'd like, or we can accept where we are and let's move forward. Like I usually start with, tell me, before we even have our first session, I'll say, describe what worthiness means to you, because so many people can't. And let's start there. Where are you at? Like what, so many people have come to me with like, how much they earn is their worthiness, what they can produce is their worthiness. And that's a good jumping off point, because now we know where you're at. Now we can start from there. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah,
kind of like boot camp. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Lou.
Oh no, Andy, I didn't mean to cut you off, my buddy.
All right. I'll forgive you. See? Progress. Isn't it wonderful? Can you please tell me how that makes you feel, Lou? I'm kidding. I don't want to know. Now I forgot what I was going to say. Great
I
job.
wrote mine down because I knew I'd forget. I did. So no, but I like what you're saying, Jessica. So years ago, I worked in a rehab center. I worked. I just want to stress that I worked at the rehab center. And I
He's
used to.
stressing that for two reasons. Because number one, nobody believed he would work, and number
Right,
two,
yeah,
yeah.
I belong there. There were times in my life I belonged there for sure. But anyway, I worked at the rehab center. It was a tri-service one, the largest one in the military, and I used to have a class on rational recovery. But one of the things that was important, that I learned in my time there. Well, number one, I learned you're correct, right? You absolutely, before you can go into any gig that deals with human behavior, you must be comfortable with yourself, right? Because the tables turn quickly. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but once you get comfortable with yourself, that really comes from how you talk to yourself and helping other people realize how they talk to themselves. And the example I always gave people was, I couldn't change an event, but I can change how I think about it. And when somebody comes to me and tells me, like if somebody came to me and said, Andy's talking about you behind your back, I would always ask myself, why would you tell me that? It's obvious, that
Mm-hmm.
that is not going to sit well. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's going to cause a reaction. Are you really doing it to help me? Are you really doing, when it's not going to end well? Are you really doing? But after I ask myself that, what I would usually tell people is I would tell them, good, it's a sign of respect. And they would ask me how, and I would say, well, that tells me that they know if they said it to my face, it would not end well. So they have to say it behind my back. It's a sign of respect. And then that usually ended it. Those people never came back with stories or anything like that because they saw I didn't view it that way. And I wasn't going to
Mm-hmm.
give them the reaction they were looking for.
That, first of all, that's brilliant. Let me just say that, because I usually take the avenue of, if they're telling me that someone was talking behind my back, odds are they're doing the same thing about me to someone else.
Absolutely.
The person that's telling me. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm much more confrontational, and then I would go, well, what was that meant to make me feel good? Like, why would you tell me that? And flat out ask them, and usually they're like a deer in headlights if you do that. They just stare at you like, they don't want that much like you did. Yeah.
I like both reactions.
Yeah.
I like them both.
It's fun. It is
They
fun.
usually look at me and
away.
say, oh, I'm sorry. I was saying they usually look at me and they say, man, that's messed up. You think that way. And I know why they say it's messed up, because they know I think that of them too.
That's right.
Because they're about to go back and say, man, can you believe this guy, what he thinks if you tell about people who talk behind his back? Yeah, that's what I think. Yeah.
Pretty much. I rarely get accused of talking about someone behind their back, because Lou will tell you, I would much rather say it to your face and chuckle from the reaction.
Yeah, I think we would have a very similar practice, because I'm very much the same way. Yeah, confrontation I do not shy away from.
I don't either. I don't particularly like confrontation, but I'm not scared of it.
If people think that if you're not scared of it, it means you like it. Absolutely not. Like, if I know I'm going into a situation that's confrontational, I still get my stomach's in a knot. My mouth gets dry, all those things, but it doesn't mean I'm scared of it.
Right.
You know what I mean? It still isn't enjoyable, but you do what you got to do.
Sometimes it is. Just saying.
Well, that is true. No, you're right. You are right. I will give you that.
Very gratifying sometimes. And Lou and I share a lot of stories, so there's probably 100 running through his head right now. But that's ridiculous, I guess in the end, it'll never happen, but people just need to mind their own damn business.
Yeah, it won't ever happen, but you're right. Yeah, you're right. If I could have the attention of the world for 5 minutes, it would be just let people be themselves, and you stay in your lane. I have a little cousin who I tell him all the time. I'm like, stay in your lane, bro. That's what I tell him all the time. Worry about you, because he's always worried about what's happening with his sister, and he's worried about just stay in your lane, and everything's going to be all right. But it's true. If people just did that more often.
Auntie, I don't even drive yet. What do you mean stay in your lane? What the? So many things I want to say that I'm just not going to. But anyway, talk to us about your most difficult client and your most rewarding. All right.
Well,
cool story.
It's not, I mean, it's obviously not a specific person, but it's the type of person. The most difficult are the ones that fight you tooth and nail, and will hear what you're saying and hear the, the work that you're telling them to do, the exercises, but they know better. And they're just going to, and it's like banging your head in a wall, and you have to just detach, because if you get emotionally attached, which I have before, like, you work with someone for a long enough period of time, and you become emotionally, involved with this person. It's only natural, and you feel like you're banging your head in a wall when they just keep repeating the same, and they hear you and they're like, yeah, but I'm going to keep doing it this way. And it is so frustrating. And the rewarding ones are the ones that like get this aha moment. Like, it never gets old when you're in a session with someone and all of a sudden you say, you're doing this because, XYZ probably happened when you were a child. And they go, man, I never realized. Like, it's like this light bulb goes off, and that is just so awesome, because so many, I mean, Freud says, when you realize you do something, you stop it, which I think is complete crap. I've never known anybody who knows why they do something and then just automatically stops like he claims you're supposed to. But there is an element of truth in there where it starts to bring awareness, especially if you're wanting to change. You know what I mean? When you have that awareness of why you're doing something or what started something, that behavior, it does start to bring the awareness, which perpetuates the change, but it's not an automatic process. Like he said, it was like some magic pill. Once you realize why you're doing something, you stop. Yeah, no.
Right.
You don't. I've never met anyone that does that. So.
That's so dead on accurate. Oh my God. Perfect.
Yeah. Those are the most rewarding. The ones that like you can hear the light bulb go off in their voice, and I'm like, score. It never gets old. It never ever gets old. It's always very rewarding. I get off the phone and I'm pumped when that happens.
So funniest event that has ever happened while you were working with a client? Just the off the wall crap that you would never imagine ever happening, but it did, and it was hilarious.
I was on Zoom, and thank God it was a woman, because I had shorts on and I didn't realize that they weren't covering as much as I thought they were covering. I stood up to adjust my shorts, and she got more of a view of me than she should have.
Moon River.
I was like, I said, that's, that wasn't sexual harassment. And she's like, I know, but it was hysterical.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, that was.
Wow.
That was pretty good. Yeah, it was. Fortunately, it was just the backside, but still.
So most of your client relations, do you do them on Zoom? Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm, because then I send a video, a recording of it, and then my notes on it, and then what you need to work on before our next session, and then I check in with them over Voxer all week. Hey, how's it going? Or is this landing for you? Do we need to tweak your homework for the week? All that kind of stuff. So, yeah.
Well, there's a safety component to that as well, for both you and the client.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, if you are not face-to-face and you have an individual that may, let's just say, go into a crisis mode, they become very unpredictable, and your safety and their safety could become an issue. But if you're not physically present in the same location, the potential... Oh, I
see. You're talking pure logistical, physical safety.
Correct.
I see, yeah. I thought you were being more like metaphorical about it. That's why I was like, all right, hit me.
I'm not that smart. No.
No, you are right. People who have endured are sometimes very unpredictable. I mean, fortunately, the people that I attract are more usually past that, but every now and then stuff triggers you, where you become much more reactive than you should be.
I really appreciate you having faith in my intelligence, but I wasn't smart enough to come up with that angle.
I was like, okay, I'll bite. What was the meta? Like, I was going, where's he going with this? And then you were actually just talking physically. Yeah.
Yeah, that's again, I'm a simple kind of guy. I didn't write my question out earlier like Lou did because I couldn't find my crayons.
I just know I'm gonna forget.
I'm the same way. I tell people all the time, if you don't see me write it down, it's gone. It's gone. This conversation never happened.
I I want to ask you a question. I'm not sure if a lot of people would ask this, but how do you decompress from working with your clients?
I finally have learned how to meditate, which it took me forever because so many people who have trauma, whether from their childhood or PTSD from adulthood, their brain starts to mimic like ADHD, bipolar, which again then ties back into the whole traditional therapy of they medicate when so many times you don't actually have that disorder. So I thought I had ADHD for years, and I still treat myself like I do. So quieting my brain down to meditate was, I mean, if I said a monumental task, that doesn't even begin to explain it. But it was like hardcore months of trying and failing and trying and failing. But when I finally got there, like that is my escape now. And it doesn't take me long. I can do it in like 10 minutes, but sometimes I mean, depending on the client, sometimes I have to, scream and throw a fit afterwards because sometimes you just get so frustrated. You gotta let it out. And I'm a big proponent of that as well. Like anger therapy. I've told clients to go to an anger room and just smash some stuff, because you got it. That anger, we're in society, especially, we're told not to express our anger. And that's so unhealthy.
I have
because anger is.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was just going to say I have the exact opposite problem. I don't hold that crap in at all. That's can be problematic.
But it can be also healthily expressed. You know what I mean? Like go out in the middle of the woods and scream at the top of your lungs. Like I'm a big fan of that. You know what I mean? Swear at a tree and throw some rocks and stuff like that. Just do it in a healthy way. But anger is real. And how can you not be angry? Like you were talking about your military service and the fact that you now have PTSD. That did that to you.
Oh, yeah.
And you have a right to be angry about that. Like, that's not what you signed up for.
I sometimes get angry at the fact that I don't know why I'm so angry. I mean, it sounds funny, but I'm serious. I'm still... that can be frustrating as hell.
It's crazy of a statement as that sound like that sounded like a loop-de-loop statement. It's 1,000% true. Like I get what you're saying. You're angry at why are you angry? That makes that makes all the sense in the world, honestly. And that's you need to express that.
I was gonna say, I think you guys are decompressing wrong. Now you said you were a child of the '80s, so here if you can catch this. This is how I decompress. Here's the throwback. Here's to you, Miss American Coach. You listen to people whine on your couch all day, dispensing advice. You deserve it. You remember that beer commercial?
It's funny. It's funny you say that.
That's how I decompress.
Because I actually did a couple parody commercials to that.
Oh, did you? I used to love those, man. Here's to you, Mr. American Construction Man. You drive America to work. It was like this. It's like you eat lunch in a steel box on a windy day. Your hot coffee's gone.
I remember those commercials.
Yeah, the one I did was one of the ones I did was Mr. Internet Professor of Politics. I don't remember exactly how it was. Something like you come home after your double at McDonald's and get on that computer and profess your knowledge.
I still have to say, I think the best beer commercial, and I know I've talked about it on here many times, but the best beer commercial was when the devil got hit in the head with a snowball. And he's like, what is going on here? And it's like snowing in hell. And then it rises up. And it's like, hey, Jim bought around, guys. It was a Coors Light commercial. But you had no idea until it panned up to earth. And you're like, hey, Jim bought around.
I've never seen that. That's hilarious.
My favorite beer commercial. It was my favorite beer
commercial.
My
God.
But back to decompression. Oh, yeah.
It's that time.
I burned through it. Sorry.
It's that time for our veterans helping veterans segment, and I guess it's my turn. So let me.
And don't go anywhere, Jessica.
Yeah.
Don't hang up. We want to talk to you after we exit this live stream.
For sure.
We'd like to say thank you after.
Yeah. So the organization I chose this week, you'll probably be able to detect a theme with me, is Canines for Warriors. And you know what? I just so happen to look at that. There we go. There's their about page, and basically they're all about Canines for Warriors serves our veterans as honorably as they serve their country. Our lifelong program is provided to warriors at no cost and is designed to deliver maximum benefit with minimum administrative costs. We are proud that generous supporters trust us to do the right thing with their contributions, and we receive widespread recognition for our stewardship. So essentially what they do is they go out and they get these dogs that are donated, they train them up, and they connect them with service members that need a service animal. And I think it's a fantastic program because I have a service dog, and there's no doubt in my she's saved my life multiple times already. She's just
love Alma more than you.
Yeah, well, I'm okay with that.
There's a Morrissey song, Alma Matters. You have to listen to it.
Oh yeah. But she's definitely a lot smarter than I am. But her breath, oh my god. Whew. But anyway, yeah. So folks, go out and find them, support them if you can. And even if you think you can't donate because you don't have money, $1 here, $1 there goes a lot further than you could ever imagine with helping somebody get connected to one of these animals to change their life for the better. But anyway, that's all I have for Canines for Warriors. Lou, what do you have?
That's a great organization.
Nothing.
Really.
Nothing, huh?
Nothing. Ready to go home. I am home. I'm ready to call it a night.
I was about to say you are home.
So let me give you a quick story about I'm absolutely exhausted tonight, and it's Friday night. I totally forgot my daughter had no school today, so I was trying to force her to go to bed yesterday at 9 p.m. and she's getting really pissed. She's 10, but she never said I don't have school. She just kept saying no. So I'm thinking she's being obstinate. So now I'm getting pissed. And then finally it occurs to me she's off tomorrow. And then wouldn't you know it, I let her stay up till midnight, and her biological clock pops her up at 6 a.m.
Oh, geez.
Oh, yeah. So I was up at 6 a.m.
So, you know what? That's a great point because my kids are off right now, too. I don't ever remember getting Halloween break.
Never.
No.
They've got 4 or 5 days off on their own. And you know what, teachers, if you're complaining about salary, maybe go to work.
Now Pennsylvania, the first day of hunting season is always off. Public schools have off first day of hunting season. So when I got in the Navy, I thought that was a holiday. They looked at me like I was an effing idiot. I was like, so are we off tomorrow, November 2nd? They're like, no. Why would you be off? I was like, hunting season, right?
I could understand that. But for Halloween, a week?
No, I know.
It's one night.
It was just funny. I grew up having that day off my whole life, and then I got to the Navy, and I find out it's not. It's a Pennsylvania. That's a straight up William Penn's Woods thing.
For sure, because I've never heard of it.
The world does not give a shit.
Nope. I can imagine your chief the day you told him that.
Oh my god! I was like, "So we off?" He's stupid.
Oh, that's a great story.
Well, Jessica, it has been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you so much.
I enjoyed being here. I'd love to come back if you guys would have me.
Let me talk to HR about that. Oh, look at that. They said anytime, open invitation.
Oh, fantastic.
But
awesome. We could talk about so much.
Oh, yes. For sure. For sure. Stick around, like Lou said. I'm going to bring us out. Lou, I'm going to give you the last word, and then I'll bring us out.
Hey, guys, thanks again for listening and being a part of the team here. So don't forget to comment, click like down below.
Oh, my God.
I just can't say it.
Speaking of last, that's the last time I ever let you do the last word.
Comment, click like down below.
Oh my God.
If you enjoy this content and want more commercial-free content,
What is wrong with you? God. So what you're telling me then is no, you have nothing.
I got nothing. Have a good night, folks, and we'll see you again next week. I'll be
All right.
broadcasting from Chicago.
Oh, I want to hear that story. All right, everybody. We'll catch you next week. Thanks for joining.